Yeah.
Welcome to You're On in 5, The Art of Understudying.
The only podcast to celebrate the work of actors in understudy roles.
Understudying demands tons of preparation with minimal rehearsal.
Or sometimes none at all.
But it can end in triumphant glory.
In these conversations, we'll amplify the diverse voices of actors who have understudied. We want to hear about the artist's technique, experience, and journey.
As well as whatever's on our mind that day.
Yay! I am one of your hosts, Elana Elise. I am an actor and a bunch of stuff. You might know me from episode 5 of N Zero, a sci-fi series filmed in Detroit about 20 years ago.
I'm Scott Sava. I'm the other host of the podcast. And you might know me from production of The Pillowman at ISU, like almost 20 years ago. And our guest today is Rosalyn Coleman Williams, who you might know from the original cast of August Wilson's 7 Guitars on Broadway, in a cast featuring Viola Davis and Keith David. Holy crap.
Hello.
Hey, Rosalyn, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so excited you're here.
I'm super excited to be included in this work.
Thank you. We're just going to get right in. So always, our first question is, what was your first understudy gig?
Okay, so I have my first understudy gig was really in college, where I understudied Benitha in Raisin in the Sun. So does that count as a gig because it was college?
Well,
undergrad? Or do you want paid?
We will go to paid, but I do want to, since you did that in college and you remembered and mentioned it, during that time, did they make any effort to kind of basically like teach you what understudying was all about, like specifically, or even in that world, did they assume that you understood what should be, how it works?
They just assumed, and they gave me a performance to do, and I did it, and I did it with no rehearsal in the role.
Oh.
So I just did it.
Good old college, huh?
Shout out to Howard University.
Yes.
It was just about letting more students have opportunities to act.
Yeah. How'd it go?
It was, what I call this kind of acting white knuckling. And that's when you have to like think about the next line all the time.
Yeah.
Or like you're an alcoholic and you really, really want to drink. And so you're squeezing your hands so tight and you have white knuckles.
Yes.
That's the kind of acting that you get from that.
I got you.
I'm like squeezing
awesome.
my hands right now. I'm like,
I know, like totally get it.
It's not like fun.
Right, not at all. Okay, so yeah, definitely tell us about your first paid understudy job.
Okay, my first paid understudy job. Oh, it was at the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C. I understudied in Winter's Tale and another Shakespeare play that I forgot the name of. The one with the princess. I can see it. Love's Labor's Lost.
There you go.
Oh, and I understudied Jacquinetta. Oh, it's coming back.
Look at you. So tell us about that experience in the real world, professional understudying. Like, what was it like? How did you prepare? How did you feel supported by the team, the production team, and the cast? Like all of that. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, I was a brand new actor, and that was my first equity show. I'm pretty sure. Yes, it was my first equity show, and we had understudy rehearsal, but I was also in the cast, so I got to see the part performed all the time.
Mhm.
So I would say that everything was, this is regional theater. It's a pretty big regional theater. So everything was super top notch. So I didn't have any complaints, and I didn't go on. Nobody got sick, but it was pretty uneventful.
Okay.
Sorry, boring.
No, that's all right. Did you have understudy rehearsals and all that?
We had
Okay.
understudy rehearsals, and I love understudy rehearsals. They're so fun. Um, and they've gotten more stressful over the years the more you do. But I do love understudy rehearsals. It's like you get to be on stage, you get to play with all the stuff, you get to say all the words. It's so fun.
Did you feel prepared, even though you didn't have to go on? And for both shows, did you feel like you definitely could if you needed to?
Oh yeah, for sure. Even though it probably would have been super scary because I was a brand new actor,
Yeah.
and I was understudying, these Yale Drama School graduates and Juilliard graduates, and so I would have felt stressed. But
Yeah.
I could pretty much mimic their performances pretty easily.
That's awesome. It didn't have to white knuckle that one though. So.
No, thank God.
Yeah.
And those parts weren't as big as Beneatha. Beneatha goes on and on and on.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
Do you think? Do you have any kind of special talent for memorizing or for understanding blocking that you think makes it a little easier for you?
No.
No. The face. I was just like, oh, that's a no.
Oh, I do not. I do not. I used to when I was younger.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten really hard. It's so much harder now than it was when I was younger. What can I say?
What's gotten harder for me as I've gotten older is when I have too many questions about the script or whatever the story. Like if it's not just like if the story itself isn't clicking for me. Back in the day, because I used to do a lot of abstract stuff too, but if I had to memorize it, I could. It didn't matter if it made sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'll make
can't.
it sound like it makes sense. But like now, that is such a struggle.
I won't even take a job like that.
Yeah.
Because it's too I'd be too miserable.
Yeah, it's the most recent time I didn't realize that's what was going to be the case. And so
you didn't read it before you said yes.
It was in development.
Yeah.
So it continued to be developed after I said yes, and so we thought it was a different kind of thing, etc. So it was hard, but I did it. It ultimately I worked it out.
You gotta work, go girl. She did it.
But I never really needed a lot of like tricks and stuff. Like usually for me, like the thing that helped me most was always like reading the whole script all the time, and so I could that would help me memorize the whole thing and help me listen in real time. And so anytime I don't get the chance to spend that much time with the whole script, I always feel like not fully there until.
Really good writers are easy to memorize. It's really when you get into the writers who aren't as strong or maybe brand new or straight up bad. Those are hard to memorize.
Exactly.
That's when the dialogue just makes no sense.
So
luckily, I've worked with a lot of great writers, so that stuff is not hard to memorize at all. And I would say it's what I do when I'm understudying, which is a total cheat, is because you have to be ready fast, I just do the performance. So I don't even worry about the insides. I just get so I can go on. That's my first task. Just get the blocking and get the words so I can go on. And then when I start rehearsal, so I have to get that there before we start understudy rehearsal. So from the day I'm hired, I'm just worried about, can I go on? And then when I get into understudy rehearsal, then I start figuring out, okay, what am I really doing?
Okay, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Because then you're ready if they need you and previews or whatever. And, and it doesn't, in preparing in that way still prepares you to, like, tell the story. So
and it's easy.
Yeah.
And it makes the stage managers trust you. And this whole thing is just a mind game with the stage managers. That's all it is.
Yes.
Is the stage managers have to tell everybody else that you're ready to go on. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you got to get there as quick as possible. So how
Right.
good you actually are, how good you feel inside is irrelevant. You are getting paid to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be your standard, is like, boom, I got to be ready to go on. And then I go back, as the show goes on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I, develop
Mm-hmm. That's
at
good now.
actual acting work.
Right.
Yeah. Huh. Has your understudy process changed as you've had more roles, or has it pretty much been the same from college to now?
I'm so boring. It's pretty much been the same, but because the roles are so different,
Ah,
the roles are so demanding in different ways, then that's what changes it. So
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
because every role is different and every production is different and what it's asking of you is different, that's the new thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, let
So
me ask
I
you
don't
this:
change how I work.
do you
Sure.
find are there any differences in your approach when you are principal, right? Like in how you operate. So
Huge.
what do you
Huge.
like,
Totally
describe
different.
that difference, right? Like, 'cause, if you think the way you talk about understudying is boring, which first of all it's not, and we don't think so, but
Okay.
expand that. What is different between those two processes for you?
Okay, it's totally different. And when you're actually playing the role, you have to discover all the moments.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go through the process. And so you don't know what's there until you actually do the work and do the rehearsal and are on your feet with the other actor, discovering the moments, working with the director. It's totally different
Yeah.
from watching where somebody has already given you the map where all the moments are, and then you just fill them in.
Mm-hmm.
So much easier.
Yeah.
I mean, understudying is so much easier.
Dig that. That I think that you're the first person to ever say those words.
Yeah, I think
Like,
so.
honestly, and I love it. What do
Oh, come
you?
on, y'all. Y'all
Is
know
it?
it's much easier.
Well,
I
no.
mean,
Also, you are our first Broadway actor, and Broadway understudies have a great deal of support, and we talk to a lot of people in the non-equity theater in Chicago, where there is very little or zero support. So yeah,
sometimes there's
occasionally.
still a lot of the equity houses and the regionals. They do provide the support, and we've heard about it. It's like that. Even the non-equity who have worked in those houses, right? Like they talk about that support. The storefronts who have not historically provided the necessary support are improving.
Mhm.
We're
Well,
learning,
then
and
if you don't support your understudies, you're just gonna have to cancel your show.
mm-hmm.
Unless you have somebody
Right.
go on with the book in their hand, and they do that sometimes.
Yeah, I
But
was in a show where that happened
mhm.
before, even though there was no reason that she needed to be. She should have been off book. I
Mm.
felt disrespected. I should stop
Mm.
talking.
But that has happened, when I was at Yale Rep, the students understudy, and we weren't prepared.
Mhm.
And so people had to go on with book before, like
Yeah.
huge parts. When you're
Yeah.
understudying a huge part and you're also doing all your classwork, your schoolwork, and blah, 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 and you're like, it's never going to happen. So it's happened.
Yeah.
Did
Yes.
did that particularly happen to you?
No, that didn't happen to me,
Oh,
but
okay.
I've been on stage with the other actor on book.
Yeah.
And it was so thankless because
It
I was
is.
playing Bernice, and Kenny Leon, the director, was playing Boy Willie with the book in his hand because our actual Boy Willie had gotten fired just right before opening. So he did and he's an actor, so he can play the role.
Okay.
And he
Yeah.
was the director of the production, so he did it with the book in his hand. And I'm Bernice, honey. I was giving you all of Bernice. And
Yes.
he got all the applause, all
Uh,
the glory, because he was stepping up to the plate. And I did not appreciate that, Kenny Leon, and I don't care if he hears it.
I love it.
He stole the freaking show with the book in his
With the
hand.
book in his hand.
Ugh.
Sometimes.
It's not even right.
22. I love it. Um, so then before there's something, but I do want to ask this. Has there been any understanding experience you've had that you learned something from that you took into your principal work that just happened to occur during understudy?
Oh, yeah. I would definitely say understudying has expanded my idea of what I'm capable of doing.
Mm.
So I got cast as an understudy for Travesties by Tom Stoppard on Broadway here. And I came into rehearsal and I didn't know the play. And I just saw that the part was kind of small. It was an understudy part. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I came and my character spoke Russian. And more horrifying, she sang a song in Russian.
Oh.
And when you showed up, you had no idea?
I had no idea, and I don't sing. So my goal immediately became, do not get fired. So, so, oh my God, in the rehearsal, I had to, like, when they did a music rehearsal, they have like me, and luckily it was the understudy piano player or whatever who was doing the rehearsal. And she's like, and so she's playing it out and she's like, okay, go ahead. And I just kept saying, oh, let me get it from my tape recorder. And so I was taping it and I'd like nod my head, but I actually did not sing that day at all. Because I could. So I just kept nodding along and being like, yeah, I got it. Yeah. And she was also not the regular piano player.
Yeah.
And so she kind of like was a little quizzical, but not too quizzical, because she was like, who am I to talk to this actor, this Broadway actor? I can't force her to do anything. So I was like, yeah, I got it. Okay, good. Yeah. And so then, I ran to my voice coach and he taught me the song and helped me. And I just worked with tapes and everything. And I never would have thought that I would have been able to do that. Yeah. So that taught me a lesson. And since then, I've been singing freely in plays. I still wouldn't do a musical.
Yeah.
But now I'm not so scared.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It was so funny. And also, I'm bad with languages.
Really?
So then when I was working with like the coach, they just had like random Russian lady, not like
a dialect coach.
Not a real dialect coach, but they had somebody who actually spoke the language. So she was just appalled at how horrible I was. So then, but it takes me a long time to get a dialect. And then this was actual speaking in Russian.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it was just a dialect, that would have been fine.
Right.
Yeah, but no.
But this is like real words, sentences.
Paragraphs even. Did you have to go on?
Thank God I didn't. But I could have. I felt really good about it.
Well, you put in a lot of work, so
I put in a lot of work. And that taught me that I really started feeling a lot less fearful.
Yeah.
That I convinced all those people that I could do it.
But did it also teach you to know what play you were about to work on?
Yeah, I'm still, that's why I accused you of not reading it. Because I'm still a little too loose, too loosey-goosey. If you catch me at the right moment and, who knows what I might say. But, that's sort of how I roll. I keep myself on a need-to-know basis.
Right. That's amazing.
Wow. So Travesties, was that like an open run or was that like
No, that was a limited run.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was at the Roundabout.
Oh, cool. So what's like one of the longer runs that you've done? Because you've done a few Broadway shows. Have any of them been like open-ended?
Yes, I am. Of course, To Kill a Mockingbird was open-ended.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did you end up going on for that?
Yes, I went on for that lots, and I got to play with all of the Atticuses, every Atticus there was.
Nice.
Even Greg Kinnear, who only did it 3 times before he got COVID.
Yeah.
And then the show closed. So I got to do it with him, Chris Invar, who was the understudy, Jeff Daniels, and Oh, come on, Ed Harris, who I love, who's my favorite.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, he was awesome. He was
good.
awesome. Ed Harris was so into it. And that was the time that I got to go on, and it was like one of those, it's 5 minutes. You know, I came in, they were like, oh, Lisa's feeling a little sick. And I was like, Lisa never misses a show. I'm not even going to get excited. And then at 5 minutes, they were like, she's throwing up, you know, and they were dressing me and everything. And Ed drags me into his dressing room, and he's like, okay, so we've been in a fight. And I was like, what are you talking about? But he wanted to talk about our backstory before our first moment. And he was like, so we were fighting earlier today. And I'm like, huh? I mean, I was so confused. I was like, it's no time for process.
Right. But moment before, have your own moment before Ed. I have mine.
But it was so cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until after that happened, after I'd done the show, that I realized what he was talking about.
Oh my God, you weren't clear about it even as you went on?
No, I didn't know what he was talking about. Why are we fighting? I'm kind of slow on the uptake.
That's amazing. Because there's still like some bit of that confusion that probably gave him what he was trying to get from you, right? Like from the fight earlier, because you had a particular feeling.
Yes. He wanted to, you know, connect. He's very, you know, methody.
Yes. Oh, God, I love that.
And he's so good. He's so honest. He's like such an honest actor.
Yeah.
You know, he like looks into your soul.
When you're in a longer run like that and you're playing with different actors, how does that change the show for you?
Every actor is different. And of course, I rehearsed with the understudy, Chris Invar, and I got to do it with him. So he was my Atticus.
Yeah.
You know, and he was, you know, special to me. I was totally in love with him. And we're used to working together. The only thing was, he goes up sometimes. Now, Jeff Daniels doesn't go up ever. Jeff Daniels is like so solid and does the same show every time. And he gets a little mad at you. You can tell he's a little mad at you if you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Sure,
you can see that fire in his eyes.
Yeah.
But Chris went up and we almost skipped a chunk. So luckily, my body remembered the blocking, even though I answered, he gave me the wrong cue. And so I answered, you know, later in the scene. But my body went back to the earlier moment. So luckily, we didn't actually skip that chunk. That would have been a disaster. Let me tell you, on Broadway, things are so precise and all the furniture moves and everything. You can't just skip dialogue. I mean, people would be in the wrong place. I mean, that's a huge show. It's got a lot of moving parts. Actors won't be where they need to be to make the next entrance if we skip a chunk.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So I saved the day on that one.
Yeah. Go, Roz. Go, Roz.
But I love acting with him because he's just my Atticus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, you know, we rehearsed together for so long.
Right. I'm glad that you did get to work with him in it, you know.
Yeah, thanks, COVID.
COVID, pull it through for the understudies.
Yes.
Roz, are there any experiences as an understudy that, aside from that, maybe this was it, and maybe To Kill a Mockingbird was it, but like that stand out to you as exceptional for whatever reason? Like,
definitely understudying Angela Bassett in
The Mountaintop.
The Mountaintop.
Yeah.
Yes, by Katori Hall. Because I love that play so much. It's a two-hander. So that means every Thursday we got to come in and do the entire play on the stage with lights and everything. And I love the play.
Yeah.
So that was a very, very special understudy experience because I loved my understudy partner, Billy Eugene Jones. He's like one of the best. I don't even know if he understudies anymore because he might be too famous for that. But we've understudied together in other shows, so we already were close. And we would just plenty of great dressing rooms, and Oprah comes to the show. Aretha Franklin came to the show. I loved understudying that show. The swag was outstanding. There are only 4 actors. There's the 2 stars and us. So we got all the stuff the stars got. So it was fantastic. I mean, it was the best opening night party. Okay, one of the reasons I love understudying on Broadway is because I love being on Broadway. I love all the accoutrements. I love the dressing room. I love opening night. I love all the flowers. I love how they take care of your costumes and your hair. And I just feel like a superstar. So and that experience, because there were only 2, was the best.
Yes. Did you ever go on?
No, I never went on.
Okay.
One time Angela got there at 5'2". And first of all, when you're understudying superstars, whose names are, where they are, half the audience will leave when you go on.
Right.
They will get up and leave. They will groan and moan, and it's just going to be a disaster. And they'll want their money back, and it's a big thing. So, I was ready, and I would have loved to, but even Angela doesn't want to disappoint the audience. There's a lot of pressure on those people to not miss a show.
Yeah.
Totally. Did
Especially
Samuel
that show. No, he didn't miss a show.
No, he didn't miss a show either? Oh, yeah.
Dig that. But y'all was ready and just basking in the experience.
I loved it. I used to hang out the window of my dressing room. Is the St. James is really cool because you're above ground. You're not underground. And you have windows out to the street so you can see the audience coming in.
Oh, wow.
So me and my husband would hang out and say, "Who is that? That's Oprah." We were so into it. That's why I like it. Then we run downstairs, try to get downstairs before they get to the door so you could look at them up close.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That sounds so fun.
It was. That was the funnest.
Yeah.
You see, I'm going by fun.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely, I loved my speeches. I loved the role. I loved everything. The only thing is I got too old to play it before I actually got to play it. And I think I would have played it in a regional theater, but I just never got the chance. So that was too bad.
Yeah. When you're, was The Mountaintop a new play at that point, or was it already produced?
It was new.
Okay, cool. So and were you also in the process for To Kill a Mockingbird when it started?
No, I was in the second cast To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
So even though I got to work with Aaron Sorkin and everything, I didn't get to work when they were changing the script. All those other Broadway plays I did, the new ones, they're actually changing the script, cutting lines, adding lines, moving things around,
Yeah.
But To Kill a Mockingbird was a well-oiled machine when I came.
For say The Mountaintop, how did you keep up with changes like that?
Well, you're in the rehearsal hall.
Yeah.
So you're there for rehearsal. I mean, you get it from the playwright's mouth. So it's not. The first day rehearsal was so embarrassing because that was the first time they did a run through. So they bring the understudies in maybe a week before tech. So we came in. So they did a run through, and I was so moved by the play. I was sobbing. It was embarrassing. I was ugly crying. And then Kenny Leon made us come into a circle, and I was all out of control. And then in the circle, he wanted each person to say one line from the play. And of course, I couldn't remember anything. It was my first day. I couldn't remember anything.
Oh my goodness.
So Sam had to save me and give me a line to say, and I said it.
Oh my goodness.
Well, but at least that was because you were so emotionally impacted by it, and not because you weren't paying attention.
Oh no, I was so into it. I was the biggest fan. I'm a super fan. And usually whoever I'm understudying, I become their fan. I get really into them.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Okay, so you've done some Broadway stuff. You've done regional understudying. Have there been any disasters?
Okay, here's a disaster. This is totally embarrassing.
love them.
So when I was doing piano lesson on the road, so that was like my first Broadway show. And then I went to do the first national tour and I was playing Grace. And I was a little like, oh, I'm playing Grace again, and I had played it for a long time on Broadway and I was going to be doing it for a long time on the road. And I said, oh, I want to understudy Bernice. And so they said, okay. And so I never did anything about it. And there was no rehearsal or anything. And then all of a sudden, and I didn't even know they were taking me seriously. Then all of a sudden, the person who's playing Bernice hurt her arm in the middle of the show. And she's like, I can't go on. She's like, my arm hurts so bad. And I just kind of ignored her because I was playing Grace. But the truth is, I couldn't have gone on.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I wasn't ready. And so that happened. That was the worst.
So what happened?
Yeah. She just had to do the show.
Oh, you did?
She did the show
with her
broken arm. Oh.
Because she technically didn't have an understudy.
Yeah.
They didn't know it, but she didn't have an understudy.
Right.
That's the only time I did that.
Oh my God. That is...
For what did you do for the rest of the run? Were you like, okay, I'll start now?
I think I learned the lines.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
But because I was playing Grace,
mm-hmm.
And also it was like we were in Seattle and they didn't have understudy rehearsals. They didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
I just learned the lines. And I generally knew a little bit.
Hope her arm healed okay.
Yeah. Denise Burst Nickelberry.
Bless her heart.
She's a great star now, so she's fine.
She's fine. And her arm is fine too,
Mhm.
surely. Roz, is there anything that you think that you feel like you would absolutely not understudy?
Oh yeah, I turn down understudy jobs all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes if it's like recently I did one that I didn't want to do because it was too many parts.
Mhm.
It was covering too many roles. I have understudied where you're like covering two characters with two different accents. That's not that fun. That's kind of, you get it's a little misery.
Yeah.
Sometimes if the lift is too heavy,
Mhm.
I'll say no.
Is 2 tracks the most you've ever done?
I think when I did Mulebone, I did more than 2 tracks, but those were all small parts, so that was easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was young. It was easy.
I could dig that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I did want to ask, Roz, so how old were you when you made your Broadway debut?
How old was I? I don't know. It was in 1990.
Okay.
Does that help? I just finished graduate school.
Oh, okay. So you had already gone to college and everything.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So that was my first job out of Yale. So
okay.
I might have been like 23 or 22.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. So how much I don't know, have you done any non-equity theater? Have you done any
Not really.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
That's embarrassing.
I really haven't. When I was a teenager, I was like a stage manager in a non-equity theater.
Uh-huh.
If that counts. But
no, but
I think that's amazing.
that's the dream. That's the best. Yeah.
Right. In our world, that's so rare.
That's only because I went to Yale. If I hadn't gone to Yale, my whole story would have been different.
That's so
Oh no, I did do a non-equity show before I went.
Yeah.
With Jeffrey Wright, and he became a big star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dig that.
Yeah, I did. I forgot about that. But it was just like over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
What's Viola Davis like?
Oh, Viola is so cool. She's super intense about her work. She's very hardworking, vulnerable, like we all are. Soft on the inside, and super disciplined. And the woman she's grown into is like, I'm like, how is this still the same person? But she's grown into such, she's such an eloquent speaker. And so um, all that stuff is all she's continuing to grow and develop and become more beautiful and more herself like every single day. But we're going to have dinner on April 27th. And I'm so worried about what restaurant I pick. Because the restaurant we picked that I told her we were going to go to doesn't serve on Monday. So now I'm like, oh no, what am I going to pick? What if I pick the wrong restaurant? She'll never want to go out with me again. But she's very, very down to earth, sweet, loving, everything just like you would imagine. I'm kind of jealous because everybody knows her now.
Yeah.
And she's pretty much how she is, is pretty much how she is.
Yeah.
She's not like fake when she's like on a TV show giving an interview. She's like down home. That's her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel jealous. It's like she has so many friends now.
So you're having dinner with her.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome.
Like, I'm so jealous because, like, we knew each other since we were 18.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's when we met. And, like, now everybody knows her.
Well, look, now so many people about to know you, too,
Aw. I'm still out here, y'all.
We'll have more with Rosalyn Coleman Williams. I almost forgot your name. We'll have more with Rosalyn Coleman Williams after this.
Y'all want to get all into the role and everything. Just do the performance.
Hey,
Broadway, honey. They want the
easy.
Performance.
Yeah. I love it.
We are back with Rosalyn Coleman Williams, and now it is time for the breakdown. And our question for this week is, did you ever have to convince anybody close to you that acting was a viable career for you?
My parents are educators, and my sister's a lawyer, my brother's a doctor, and my little sister's a shrink. I'm a middle child. So I was pretty free.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what a life in the theater would look like, and neither did I, but they love the theater. So I didn't really have to work on them too much.
Oh, that's good. They were all supportive throughout childhood and everything?
Through childhood, like I said, I was a third. So, yeah, they would come see me. They came to the show when I ushered. They were very, very supportive.
Yes.
They're very supportive. Now they're less supportive. I mean, not really less supportive. They probably listen to this. So, no, I'd say. But many times if I do something on television or a movie, they don't see it. But they just, it just doesn't come up. Unless they want to see it anyway.
Yeah.
And then, like, when it goes on TV, they'll be like, Rosie, my friend told me you were in a movie. Were you in a movie? I'll be like, yeah, that was me.
I love that.
If their friend tells them, it's legit.
Yeah, it's legit.
Yeah.
That's adorable. Were there any other people, like you may have had mentors or you might have had teachers you were close, like was there anybody who was like, come on, Roz, you're not going to do that?
Well, I mean, I wasn't very good, in case you can't tell. I wasn't very good, but I was determined. So, like, the whole time I was in college, I never got cast. Like, I understudied that time, but I never got cast in an actual play. So that's kind of like telling you can't do it.
Yeah, that could be some discouraging shit.
Yeah, so I was like, I would say discouraged around college. But, I didn't look to them too much because I knew what they felt. And there were so many other good students. It was competitive.
Yeah.
And I felt like, yeah, compared to them, I see what you mean. So I was like, womp womp. So I sort of looked for validation in other places.
Okay. I can dig that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have very much discouragement. But I also, and still today, I also always had so many interests, and I pursued like so many things that they probably didn't even realize I was. This is the one thing that I kept doing, right? Because I
Yes.
was just, and as a young person, it was just part of everything all the time. I was in science club and I loved chemistry, but I also did like all kinds of organizations and like so. But I also when I started acting when I was 7, and so that's
Oh.
like been the constant every all the time. So I don't make my living as an actor, but I definitely have been fully embedded in a way that one people have thought that's what I do. And so, but both my parents, my dad's a musician, and so
Oh,
he
so
was
he
never going
gets
to be
it.
right, and my mom just whatever. And I'm the youngest by 8 years of 5, right? So it was also kind of like, where are you? I'm like, I'm over here this time. I'm over
Yes.
here, So there wasn't, it just not, no, to go do whatever, and I would report back and they would come. They started to come more as I got old, as they realized it was a thing. But when I
Mm-hmm.
was an adult, like I went on main stage Second City in Detroit. That was the first time my dad saw me perform.
Wow, that must have
You
been
know,
so special for him.
oh my God, Roz! They first of all, he and his wife at the time tried to take pictures. I'm at Second City,
So
so and
cute.
they were like in the front. I might as well have been 5 at a
Oh,
recital. Like they were bananas. I had to be like,
oh, that's so
please
sweet.
calm down.
That is so sweet. I love that.
It was cute, but also it's embarrassing, like I have to tell them that like you can't be acting like I'm 5 and this is my first recital. Like
Aw.
but still, like they've always known I do it, and have support my whole family. I mean, I don't have a small family, but and we brought that question in because I definitely have heard so many tales about people's families not supporting this route or this choice, and I was just curious about it. But even I told Scott in the beginning, I was like, my answer would be no. Like I didn't have anybody telling me not to do it.
As long as I went to college, like I said, they were educators. So um, I went to Howard, where my dad worked.
Mm.
And then I went to Yale Graduate School. They were very proud of the word Yale. So,
Yes.
and Howard and Yale is like the perfect combination. So that was good
Absolutely.
to them.
Yeah, that
It,
makes sense.
they were, they were proud of me, and they know the theater. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's so great. I didn't major in theater when I went to school. Again, so many avenues of
Hmm.
interest. I was like, I clearly can do this thing without going to school for it, so I'm going to go to school for something else. Scott, what about you? Did you have a hard time
Well,
in pursuit?
my family was pretty supportive. My mom especially.
Aw.
She was the biggest cheerleader for me. From anything I wanted to do, but especially theater. And my family did not come from theater at all. They're not artists. They're very like blue collar working class people in Chicago suburbs. Um, and there wasn't really even anybody in my broader family. Like I have like one of my dad's cousins is a like visual artist, but like that's it in my family. So there wasn't really an understanding of like how to do it or like what that actually looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think I don't know. There were some events that happened that uh, I had to, I guess, push through in terms of continuing to pursue a career. In senior year of college, I was one of maybe 2 out of like 40 that wasn't chosen for the senior showcase.
I
Like,
hate that. They're
uh,
dead to me.
it was so
I
stupid.
really hate them.
Yeah.
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 You
Well,
know I
they.
teach, right?
All
So
right.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I'd always heard about, I went to Illinois State University. I'd always heard about DePaul having their cuts in the first or second year. Technically, ISU had cuts in the second year, but I think by the time I got there, they weren't actually cutting people. They were just giving really harsh criticism. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, we had a major casting director come down to ISU to watch our monologues. She and her casting assistant. The faculty had one vote, and then the casting director and the assistant casting director each had one vote. So, for whatever reason, I mean, I don't remember particularly bombing that monologue, but, they decided it wasn't good enough. And, like, looking back on it, I probably could have, like, fought a little harder and just been like, yo, I've been in this school, I've gotten cast in plays. I deserve to be part of this showcase. But, like, at the time, I didn't really understand that that was something I could do.
Yeah.
So that was really discouraging, and kind of. I mean, my first year up here, I lived at my parents' house in the suburbs, and really just did like serving, and because I didn't have the hookup for like agents calling me or anything like that.
Yeah. That's so wrong.
Yeah. So, like, and I guess in recent years, ISU has stopped doing that. I guess they've allowed everybody, which they should, because if you're going to give somebody a diploma, that you're saying that they're good enough to go out and be professionals,
And
I
well,
really
here's the
hate
thing.
it.
What they do is they're taking your money, whether or not you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whether or not they think
That's the number one
obviously,
thing.
right. That
Yeah.
happened. I wasn't discouraged about it because I give two shits, but I finally decided to pursue my MFA for like many years out of undergrad, but when I was exploring what I wanted, I only wanted to go to Temple. Right, like their program matched my interests, and
Mm-hmm.
I had to come to Chicago for the URDAS, right?
Yeah, I remember the
Mm-hmm.
Erdis.
And I had a great first round. Jane Alderman wrote great notes. I still have that feedback somewhere. I was excited. I didn't apply. There were 47 schools and programs, like schools and conservatories. I only applied to Philly. And in my second round, I didn't get anything from any of those 47 schools and programs.
What?
And I had been at that point, like I was in my late 20s. So I've been out of school and I've been acting since I was 7 up through that point. And I was just like, that's so weird. I would be like, hey, Jay Alderman likes me. But like,
Yeah.
and I similarly, Scott, I got like people were trying to convince me to like go to Temple and like visit the program and talk to people and make my case. And I was really like, I don't have time for that. Like I just kind of don't. So I didn't do that. And I was okay. I had already started a theater company that I wasn't sure about maintaining. And then when I didn't get in, I was just like, well, I'm gonna focus on that and build that until I want to do something else. And so that was fine. I hadn't had, dreams of moving here yet at that point. So, but that could, and Erda's had, those people are usually fresh. Those attendees are almost all fresh out of undergrad. So it felt to me like an American Idol. Or like it's like the
Yeah.
maturity gap, right? Because at that point I had been married and divorce, like I've been out in the world, and now and they were just devastated, like when they didn't get past their first rounds, and you don't know who you'll hear from after that second round immediately, but seeing this devastation all around me, after, like, I just didn't know what to do. I felt really bad for them. I hope they're all okay. But
Me too.
it was not, so I've never had anything make me feel so torn down. That was disappointing. I thought they were making mistakes. Even like nobody, like not even somebody that I don't want to go to. I'm like, I have value, and then and then on top of that, the idea that every one of those things would be something I'm paying for. Like I can't go to grad school. Like you're not letting me into graduate school. That's absurd.
Yeah, I hate
So
that. That makes me upset.
right, it makes no sense at all. And then it was similar in terms of like types. So they cast basically, they're casting grad school. So all of that like was like I can't be bothered, and it didn't. But that was like that could have been, especially based on what I witnessed, the young people go through as a result of not being moved on. And I was just happy that I didn't fall, that it didn't take me down.
I hate that.
Yeah, it seems really silly. It seems like
Yeah.
if I want to go to grad school and get my MFA, you should let me.
Yeah, I really don't like the whole. I have a big beef with the whole education system around the arts. So
Yeah.
it's really rubbing me the wrong way.
Yes.
Both of them. It's like it's almost hard to like the one that sticks out.
Right. Well, and it doesn't matter. Right? Like that's like, I mean, gratefully some of us can get to that point where it doesn't matter, right?
I
Like
know
if
the things that you reject, you don't think about them
exactly.
because you
Like
didn't do them.
You didn't do them.
Yeah.
They don't matter. So nobody needs to be carrying that.
Yeah.
You just keep on going. I mean, like I never even had to like convince myself that like this was a viable career option. It was just like, well, I've already got my diploma. I think I'm a decent actor. I'm going to keep on doing this. And like, we get that constant rejection, but what really matters is if you keep on going.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
You're really doing it for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
For the people, for the stories that you're telling and who's coming to see them.
Right.
So if you can reach, as long as you can reach an audience, then it's viable.
Yeah.
Totally. All right.
It's time for props. All right. So during props, we just like to give a shout out to people we want to lift up for whatever reason, wherever our paths crossed. Just give some little celebration to somebody. So that's what this is all about. Who you got?
Okay. So in general, I've worked with a lot of really great stage managers. And when you are understudying, stage managers direct you. And after the director leaves, stage managers help you maintain your performance.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it was just before I started doing To Kill a Mockingbird. I was doing Native Son at the acting company on 42nd Street. And I started having trouble on stage. Real trouble. So this is what would happen. I would close my eyes for this certain moment where I would see something in my imagination. And when I opened my eyes, I wouldn't know where I was. And when I came back, there was like a quick sequence of lines with everybody, and I would just always mess it up. But it was worse than that because I was also the main focus at that moment. I was like, it was all dark and there was a spotlight on me, and so I messed it up like maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't know, lots of times. And the stage manager helped me figure that out, helped me unravel that. And her name was Bernita Robinson. And she came in early and sat with me and unpacked what was going on. It was like I was having like a psychological breakdown. So in the play, first of all, in my home, my son was acting up. And my husband and him were getting into it. And I was in the middle. And he was just going through like a teenager growing pain thing. And we were having these huge, what I would call it when I came in from the dressing room is I would say it was an after school special. It was like I was living in an after school special.
Yeah.
And in the play, I was playing a mother, a native son. That was the play. And I don't even remember what the moment was, but I just kept losing my place in reality. Like,
Oh,
also, it was like a weird set where everything was dark. This is one of the darkest sets. Like when the lights were out, you couldn't see nothing
Mm.
on this
oh.
set, and so it gave you a sense of like being inside Bigger Thomas's head.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the characters were like floating in space. It looked like because of the lighting, it was really cool production. So Bernita helped me identify what was going on. Like she asked me what was going on, and I was like, "Oh, my family's falling apart, whatever." Anyway, we're all better now, so I can talk about it.
Good.
Um, yeah, praise God, we came through.
Yeah.
And then I just had to change the moment. I couldn't close my eyes. It was
Mhm.
like my capacity to act was very shallow. It was only on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't go deep. Like
Yeah.
if I went deep, I would lose where I was.
Yeah.
Like I would just lose my sense of reality. So I couldn't close my eyes. So I just stopped closing my eyes and like I couldn't like let my mind see an image
Yeah.
or I would get lost. So I just had to cut that whole aspect of my acting just needed to go away. And I just needed to play those moments. Just, act them.
Right.
There's no reason to worry about what I'm actually doing, what I'm feeling. Just act the fucking moment and get on with it.
Yes.
So she saved me by coming in, unpacking it, and rehearsing with me. She also rehearsed it with me. So I love her, Bernita Robinson.
Yeah. And what theater is?
It was at the acting company, and the theater was the new 42nd Street Theater.
Yeah, nice. Yay, Bernita, we love you.
I love you so
Yes.
much, Bernita. You know I do.
That's awesome.
I felt like she took a bullet for me or something.
Well, I mean,
That's how I felt. She saved me.
I can understand that feeling. That because being lost like that and having someone help you find your way, that's huge.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I really felt like my mind was breaking down.
Right.
Like my cognitive function was not working.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like stage managers are psychiatrists or anything like that, but like
This is a really good stage manager. I could think of all like other stage managers I worked with who would have been like, get it together. Who would have who just would have been giving me notes or just complaining or writing me up in reports and stuff, reporting me to equity, whatever.
Right.
All the bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't have that.
Ross, how did you get into like what's your education like story like in terms of like teaching and
You mean like me being an educator?
yeah.
When I finished Yale, I did a lot of new plays at Yale.
Mhm.
And I was always very good at new plays. I'm very good around the table,
Mm.
just helping develop story. So because of that, even though I was young, people noticed that and they would ask me to help them with auditions. So I started coaching people for auditions. And this lady named Margie Haber in Los Angeles took me, I took her audition class for camera. And right after that, she started training me to be her East Coast teacher. And I started doing that. And it just took off from there. And I've been doing it for 30 years. So I teach, at universities. I could never, ever do high school. I can only do seniors in college. That is as young as I can go. And that's hard.
Yeah.
So I do seniors in college and then workshops and private coaching and just whatever.
Anything else lined up that you can tell us about?
Directing projects.
Ooh,
So I have a couple of directing projects. Both of them are film projects. And I have 2 directing film projects that are on one that needs to happen this summer. So hopefully it's called Weapons for Peace. We'll see.
Okay.
You know how that goes.
Totally.
Yes.
And then the other one, I don't know we're still funding it. So I don't know when that's going to happen.
Any plans to return to Kill a Mockingbird or anything like that?
Well, if the show comes back, I have a contract, so
Okay, great.
I don't know what's going to happen with that. So I hope, I would love to. I was planning on going back, but I'm flexible.
Okay, good. All right.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, Roz, yeah, we tend to end the podcast with a question of like, what would you tell either somebody starting out now, or what would you tell your younger self that you know now about the business, about acting, about life?
My younger self, I would say, learn to sing. My, which I never did. My advice for people who are starting now is, I really feel like the sky is your oyster. Is that the saying? The world
The
is your
world
oyster.
is your oyster. The sky is the limit.
The world is your oyster. The sky is the limit. Whatever. There are no limits.
Dream big.
I definitely feel like, we started a production company, my husband and I, in 2000, and that has been our bread and butter. That has been the thing that's kept me off unemployment, that's kept me alive artistically, so that I can, go from acting job to acting job or not. But I can always have income and money. And I feel like the thing is that you have to figure out what are all your talents, all your skills, and use them all up before you die. So there's nothing that doesn't relate to acting. So that's the great thing about acting. You can go from acting to being the president. We all know that.
Exactly.
So it's a skill that you can use in any way you want. So you can develop the skill and then figure out how to make money from it. It doesn't have to be one particular way.
Yeah.
So I think that you can dream big. I think that sometimes we imagine acting in a very particular, narrow way. And you can have a whole entire life in the arts that could look different and could be totally satisfying. So just, I think, see where you have flow. So if you're going to, I don't know, Broadway auditions and you're never ever getting anything, you're not having flow, but you're having flow somewhere else, then grow that. You can grow where you're planted, And I always feel like there's a time in life when the Wonder Twin powers activate. And that's like when there's a time when you're working on your own projects and you're developing your own projects. And there's going to be a moment when what you're doing from your agent, what is in, legit showbiz, the unions, that type of work, when that crosses with what you've been developing personally. And that is when your Wonder Twin powers activate and when things really take off for you. So always develop your own work and your own skills and your own self, along with, the traditional show business route, which is like get an agent, go to auditions, get jobs, and do those, So do both.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Russ, thank you so much for joining us. We were so nervous. You're our first stranger, mutual stranger.
Oh, wow.
Like we've each had people the other didn't necessarily know, but like you're the first person that neither of us knew, and we had some nerves about it. Yeah. This was so great. Thank you.
Are you kidding me? There's nothing to be nervous about an actor talking about themselves. Please.
Right?
What could be? Come on.
You would think that'd be the case, but I assure you we know better. So we're super grateful for you and your energy and your wisdom and the fact that we, did get to hear some new things about
I hope I said something new.
You definitely did. And I'm so excited to get this out there for people. I mean, not just to celebrate, the fact that we got a Broadway actor on our show, but, just like that. I just loved some of the wisdom you dropped, and I want to spread it around.
Well, I know lots of Broadway actors. They're easy to come by, so if you need to know anybody, just let me know.
Oh, Scott will be in touch with you.
Yeah, I definitely give you some recommendations, some way better talkers than I am.
Oh, you did great. But I will say, I want to thank you for even being willing to send people to us. That tells us you had a good time too, and I'm grateful for that.
I had a great time, and I challenge you. I challenge you.
So what?
To what?
I just challenge you. I just challenge you to think bigger, to dream bigger, to know that you can have, anybody that you want on your podcast, and that people will. I challenge you to imagine even more. Because whenever my students say to me, like, I just want to get where you are, Roz, I'm like, y'all, come on, dream big.
Right.
So whenever anybody says,
Fascinating.
like, oh, I'm so happy to be working with you, I'm like, look, I want you to imagine more. So that's why I challenge you.
Okay.
Awesome.
Challenge accepted. my
Yeah.
dear.
Okay, come on.
Yay.
All right, good night.
Good night.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation today with Rosalyn Coleman Williams, and that it gives deeper insight into the art of understudying.
To send us a question or give us a suggestion of someone we should interview, email us at understudypodcast@gmail.com.
Or hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at understudypod.
We want to thank all of our Patreon subscribers, especially Marcella Huff and Stanley Sava and Andrew Sava.
If you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/understudypod.
Our theme song and all other music are by Laura McKenzie.
Our episodes are edited by me and produced by Ilana and myself.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked it, hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice and tell your friends.
And if you hated it, tell your enemies.
And their parents.
And their stupid parents.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.